There's a lot to dig into. Matt Miller, former chief spokesperson for the Justice Department. My friend Glenn Kirshner, former federal prosecutor. And Nancy Soderberg, a former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, as well as former deputy national security advisor under President Clinton. I got a full house of big brains. Glenn, what is the significance of a second whistleblower?
So, Steph, I think the second whistleblower can potentially bring three important things to light. First of all, we have a call summary. We have no idea how accurate that call summary is or how complete that call summary is. Could it be that the White House, where they put ellipses, left out some of the really juicy bits? Well, maybe the whistleblower, having firsthand knowledge, can tell us, is it a complete call? Is it an accurate call? The second thing the whistleblower can potentially tell us is who else was in a position to hear that call and hear just how damaging it was. And then the third thing the whistleblower with firsthand information may be able to tell us is what was the conversation in the immediate aftermath of that call that led everyone to conclude we've got to bury it in the secret server. So this whistleblower could really put some more meat on the bones.
All right, Ambassador, let's talk about the depositions this week. Two of them coming, and let's walk through who they are. One is a career diplomat, the former ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch. The other person is Gordon Sondland. Garrett mentioned who he was before, but let's give it some more detail. Sondland is a businessman, a hotel magnate, and a very big Trump donor with absolutely no foreign policy experience. And we should add that he is ambassador to the EU, which Ukraine is not even a part of. Can you give these two depositions equal weight, given who they're coming from?
Well, they're very different, but they're equal weight. You have a very professional career Foreign Service officer who was unceremoniously recalled because she was apparently not supportive enough of the president. That's unusual, but it's within the president's right if he loses confidence in a career diplomat. The ambassador to the EU, Sondland, is a political appointee, again, not unusual. What is unusual is that the president tapped him to do his bidding on another ambassador's terrain with really no formal justification for going to Ukraine. There's some kind of trade agreement that they were trying to talk about on LNG or something. But that is highly unusual. And he's the one, through the text messages, that clearly realized that they better stop talking about the quid pro quo on their text messages with Volker and the Bill Taylor, the professional ambassador who followed the one who was recalled. Now, I think what your listeners really need to understand is that as much as the president and his enablers try and deflect, move the focus of the soccer team over here, over here, over here, the truth in this is going to come out. There's simply too many people involved in this policy. And the president may or may not get impeached, but everyone around him is going to be tarnished with this. You've got Mike Pence. You've got Secretary Perry on the way out. Gordon Sondland, the ambassador, is now probably going to be tied up in this. Bill Taylor, who stood up to this, is probably going to lose the president's confidence as well, even though he did the right thing over and over and over again, because it's not a deep state. It's a group, millions of people across the government that uphold their oath to the office of supporting the Constitution, and they have the guts to stand up when actions are wrong. So I would say to the president and those around him, stop deflecting, stop trying to pretend this wasn't exactly what it was, where the president was holding up a White House visit and Ukraine aid as leverage to get this government to do its bidding. That's what happened. And just be honest about it. Let the chips fall where they may, but don't try and obfuscate and deflect, because everyone around the president is going to pay a price for that.
All right, Matt, as far as what this is all about, the AP may have some more information, and I want to read you a bit of the piece they have out, where they write, a circle of businessmen and Republican donors touted connections to Giuliani and Trump while trying to install new management at the top of Ukraine's massive state gas company. Their plan was to then steer lucrative contracts to companies controlled by Trump allies. Matt, your reaction to this, because the White House has been saying this is all about us routing out any corruption. This seems kind of stinky to me.
Yeah, it looks like at the same time they were trying to supposedly root out corruption, they were trying to install some corruption of their own. It's a fairly remarkable story. I think what it shows is that Rudy Giuliani's main mission here was to try to advance the president's personal political interests, to get Ukraine to do something that would retaliate against one of Trump's domestic political opponents. But he found out that on the side, as kind of a side business, as long as he was walking around Ukraine with people in Ukraine knowing that he essentially spoke for the president of the United States, he might as well use that influence to make a buck for himself, and that he was helping business interests who wanted to make a buck for political allies of Rick Perry and longtime donors to the Republican Party. And I think what this does, it obviously adds to kind of, it shows that the president's claim about rooting out corruption was complete hypocrisy, but I think we knew that all the time. What I think it does is it adds to the number of people who are going to be worried about their own reputations being tarnished in this. So I think, you see more witnesses going up to the Hill. Jeff gave a good, kind of layout of who's going to be called for depositions in the next week or two. All these people have to decide, do they want to defend the administration, or do they want to get out of this as cleanly as they can for themselves? You saw Kurt Volker go up last week. He could have resisted that testimony. He could have followed White House orders and just refused to testify, not turned over his text messages. And he said, and I think he made the decision, look, I'm not going to go down in this scandal. I'm going to tell the truth about my involvement and try to tell how I was making things better. Gordon Sondland, every other witness in this case, including the people who are working for Giuliani who have been called by the House, are going to have to face that same decision.
Glenn,
next up is Rick Perry, I think. He's the one who's next up. What did he know? When did he do it? And he's got a decision to make, too. If he's leaving the administration, will he come clean on what was really going on, or will he try and stay silent? We don't know, but that's the next focus of inquiry is Rick Perry.
Glenn, what's your take on this new AP piece? As Matt puts it, we want to be done with your corruption so we can install ours.
Yeah, we seem to be spreading corruption around the world rather than fighting it. I agree with Matt. But here's one of the most distressing parts, Steph. Usually, the people who would be investigating this wrongdoing would be the FBI. The FBI is under Bill Barr's thumb. So that's the wild card here. We're finding lots of corruption, and, Congress is trying to catch its investigative breath and actually move forward toward articles of impeachment. But without a viable law enforcement agency because of Bill Barr's participation in all of this, who is it that's going to investigate and take down all of this corruption? I mean, that's a real problem for our government right now.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.